Hello everybody. Today I'm just going to go over my experience with this game here called Source of the Nile. And in Source of the Nile, you are exploring a hex map of South Africa. And you are going hex to hex, discovering natives, different terrain, and looking for landmarks. And you can either travel by foot, you can travel by canoe, or horseback. So here's the description here. African exploration in the 19th century. Follow the great 19th century explorers in their search for the source of the Nile. Discover mountains, jungles, deserts, and great lakes in the uncharted heart of dark continent. Meet and deal with native tribes, survive animal attacks, disease, and starvation, overcome superstition, desertion, and disaster to add your discoveries to the map of Africa. And having played a session of this already, I can certainly say that disaster is certainly underlined and bolded. It's a pretty brutal game, but it's a game of adventure. And I enjoy that aspect. I mean, it creates great story. It's great narrative. So up here are the different terrain types. So you have veld, you have lake, mountain, desert, swamp, jungle, mountain. And as you're moving through these hexes, you're discovering those types of terrains. As you can see here by the blank map. The map comes in 3 different sections. You just put it together like a simple puzzle. And then from there, you just move across the map. The different components for the game there are a number of different tokens. So you can play up to 6 players in this game. So you can be blue, yellow, green, orange, dark orange, or it's more like a yellow, and then red. And here are the tokens you get with that. So here's the red ones. You have so this is your explorer token you're using to move across the map, and these are for caches. That's equipment that you have extra of, so you can store it away into hexes, and so therefore you have some equipment stored away in case you might need that in the future. But you're not always guaranteed that you'll find it when you go back looking for it. But that's what these tokens are for, to mark that on the map. There are also these tokens here that are numbered. There's a whole bunch of these. They're for when you meet native tribes, and they're all numbered. And you would correspond that number with, you'd mark it here, and then the behavior of the tribe would be explained here. But I digress. So the components are, you have the different player tokens, the native marking tokens. You have 4 6-sided dice, and then you have these special tokens too. And these special tokens, they provide you with some special locations. So in this game, you're trying to get what's called victory points. And I think it's up to 75 points you wish to get to win the game. So you can end up finding, you have, what's this here? You have the Native Kingdom, Dr. Livingston. So yeah, Dr. Livingston, also King Solomon's Mine, and the Lost City. So you'd have these flipped upside down with 4 red herring markers here, and then you would mix them up, and then you would put them up randomly on the board for setup. Excuse me. So they'd have to be at least 5 hexes away from any what's called published land, discovered land, and then 3 hexes away from each other. So yeah, so you would find, if you find those, they would be worth a lot more victory points, especially if you're a particular explorer, because you are an explorer in the game, but you can be a number of different professions as an explorer. You can be a botanist, geologist, journalist. There's a number of different ones you can be. And the game also comes with these crayons, and it comes with, we'll get to the crayons in a minute, the game log, so the expedition sheet. So this is how you keep track of, well, you have your explorer, the people you're bringing with you, so you can bring warriors with you. You can bring the, what are they called? Bearers. They can carry things for you, because you do have to keep track of your inventory. And the amount you're carrying is compared to your transport capacity. So if you have horses, you have camels, you have a canoe, you can carry a certain amount with those modes of transportation. And then your bearers can carry, I believe it's 10 items. 10 items each. And as I mentioned, there's also these cash here. So there's these cash tokens over here, and those can be laid on the board. So this is cash number 2. So if perhaps you have extra equipment, you can mark what equipment you do have there. So you can store rations, gifts, canoes. Gifts are used to barter with tribes to try to get more favor with tribes. So you have that for keeping track of the caches. Here's the records for, as mentioned before, about the tribes. The discoveries you can make along the way as well. And then here you have your victory points. You can keep track of your victory points because you can return back to Europe and then publish your findings. And through that, you will get victory points. And after you've accumulated some victory points, you can then return back to the game map, back to Africa, and try to make some more discoveries and hope you don't die. And then lastly, for the components, you also have these event cards. So this is the meat of the game right here. So you can see there can be a disaster. So you draw these cards during your turn, and you find out if there's a disaster. So in this example, a rare thunderstorm causes a flash flood in the desert. So if you're not in a desert hex, this wouldn't pertain to you, and you'd simply discard it. So then after that, you would draw another one to determine if there's a river or if the river ends. And then you draw again to discover if to see if there's a spectacular discovery, to discover if there's any natives. In this example, if in swamp. So if you're not in a swamp hex, then you haven't discovered any natives. And then after that, you would also hunt, because in the game, you have to eat. So back on the game log sheet, you can see here you keep track of rations, gifts, muskets, and that all falls in line with every day traveling you have to eat. So it's 1 ration per character that's with you. So if you have the explorer, you have, let's say, 3 warriors, scaries they call them, 2 bearers. Every one of those they take up 1 ration. But near the end of your turn, you would hunt. So depending on the terrain you're in, you would roll the dice, and then you can find rations. And then if you're short any, you would then make up for it from your rations that you have in your inventory. So if you end up being short in rations, your characters, they will start to starve, and there's a table for that. There's a recovery table. They can remain ill, they're improving, they're dying. I mean, the game is pretty brutal. Let's put it that way. There's also the policies that you choose when you end up coming across tribes. Depending on the policy you choose, could impact, depending on what the results in the table, could impact the reaction to you. Also, if you provide them any gifts. Gifts are very generic. I believe you can also give muskets, though, that you've purchased as gifts, and that will help you get some bonuses on the table. But so far, my experience, it's been pretty brutal. They've been quite aggressive, and they usually wipe out most of my party relatively quickly. Now, when it comes to moving across the map board, the game provides you these crayons. These are some old crayons. I mean, the game is from it was created in 1978, and this version's from 1980, the Avalon Hill version. But if you discover a mountain, say you're in this hex here, and then you travel to this hex and you discover there's a mountain, you simply would use the crayon to draw your mountains, right? And if there happens to be you discover that there's a river in there, you would then take, that's a green one. Where's my blue one? Is this it? So if there proves to be a river, you would draw the river in here, and the card would specify if it happens to fork, and so on. But then it wipes off relatively easy. I just get a paper towel, and then I wipe it down. The rulebook for the game it's pretty standard Avalon Hill. All the font is tight together. It has all the rules spaced out in like a decimal format. It's not that easy to find some things I found, but I mean, I've only played it a couple of times, and I was able to find most of the information that I needed. But it gives you a startup, discusses, of course, what the hexes are, and there's two different ways to play the game. There's game 1 and there's game 2. The second game is designed more for if you're not really going for victory points and you're just kind of treating it as a game of discovery, I suppose. Like, what does it say here? I gotta read it again. So, introduction to game 2. So it's game 2 approaches the exploration of Africa from a different direction. More emphasis is placed on the adventure of discovery than upon its rewards. So there you go. This one doesn't really focus too much, it seems like, on the victory points aspect, but more about just going through the motions of the game and seeing what you find. So the game it's very random, the game, which I love. I have zero issue with that. I mean, I wouldn't go into the game expecting that you're going to get all that far. It's a very brutal game. The disasters come pretty quick. The natives are typically quite, they usually want quite a bit of stuff from you, or they just end up wiping out a good chunk of your party. As I understand, the game was advertised as being a game of education, trying to give younger people an idea of the difficulties, the trials for both explorers and for the people they meet along the way, the native tribes, and dealing with two very vastly different cultures. I had fun with it though. It was really great experience, I found. There's lots of cards, so there's lots of different possibilities of things that can happen. Tracking the log sheet was relatively simple. You're doing a lot of adjusting though, because as you go along the way, you're erasing your food, and so, or you're determining how much your bearers can carry. They can carry 10 items, but then from there, if you lose a bearer, you got to keep that in mind and record your sheet accordingly. I purchased this copy from Noble Knights. I'm very happy with the purchase. It was in great condition when it came in. As a matter of fact, I had to punch out most of the chits. Only a few were punched out, and yeah, it was a really good experience. It's a brutal experience. It's a very random experience. The most control you have really is at the preparation stage. The rulebook does provide you with some suggestions on how to start your game. The game came with a big booklet of these game log sheets. What I did though is you can play up to 6 players, so I took 6 of them and I laminated them so I can go ahead and use a dry erase marker. For preservation's sake, I also laminated all the event cards just to keep them in good shape. My friends and I like to have chips while we play, so that'll help protect them a little bit. There is another game actually that is heavily influenced by this game. It's called Rocky Mountain Man. I came upon it on the Dungeon Dive channel, Daniel's channel. And I think I'd like to get that eventually as well and see how it influenced the game and see what sort of changes that was made. There's the PDF version of that game, and there's also the full box printed version of it. I'm not sure which one I'm going to get, but I think eventually I'll take a look at that as well. It'd be kind of fun to take a look, see what they've done. But it is very much influenced by this game, which I think is really great, because it's a really nice mechanic. The idea of having the blank hexes and then going through each hex. It's always different. It's changing, and there's so much to discover. I think it's a really good system. Maybe a little convoluted in places, the Source of the Nile one, but I'd like to see what Rocky Mountain Man did with it. Anyhow, that's my breakdown of just the Source of the Nile. Very happy with this purchase, and there'll be more content to come in the future. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Take care, and bye-bye for now.